and so it is, and so it shall be. So, Dia and Celine, it's so delightful to have you here on Huddle. And I'm so looking forward to hearing about this retreat. The way you describe it as an invitation for women to join in a circle of sisterhood in sacred transformational space and explore the mysteries of ourselves and the mysteries of the sacred land of Malta. It's a call of remembrance. I just love that. It sounds so rich and magical. And from what I gather, it's been quite a kind of magical set of synchronicities and things that has brought it about. So, Dia, do you want to start us off and tell us a bit about your background and what in your life led you to want to create a retreat like this?
Sure. So thanks Jan, thanks for having us, and thanks Celine for coming on. Really excited to be sharing about this because it's been taking up so much space in my heart these past few years. It all came about through a meditation with Claire Zammit, which I think you're both familiar with through the influence. And it was one of the first meditations she was doing with tapping into your desires and your yearnings. And so I really got clear that I wanted to run retreats. I've always wanted to run retreats, and I've done women's circles before and workshops for women and Ayurveda and yoga. And so that was always a dream, and that really came forward. And then I heard Malta, and I had a friend in Malta, so I reached out. I listened, and I went out, and I went with my daughter, and I went with my mom and my sister and my niece, and we went to Italy first, which is my ancestral home. So really being back in the land of Italy was really special, and connected me to my ancestors in a deeper way than before. And then my daughter and I traveled on to Malta, and I really didn't know much about Malta, like nothing, even though I'd done some reading, and I heard that it was, something about a goddess, but I couldn't find really much on it. So I had a pretty extraordinary experience there, and with my daughter as well. And I kind of want to pause here and let Celine talk a little bit about Malta, because that's kind of the background, and then I can share what happened, because it fills in what I did not know when I went.
That's a great bit of suspense you're putting us in, Dia.
Oh, sorry.
Go for it, Celine.
I have an image of Malta. Can you see that?
Oh, wow. Yes, that's gorgeous.
And so where's that from, Celine? Is that Gozo?
This is actually Malta itself. It's in the south of the island, a place called Dingley Cliff. Okay. It's magical. It's very raw. Malta is still very, very raw. There is Malta is very special. I married a Maltese man, so my children are half French, half Maltese. I've known the island for 20 years. I lived there. Now I'm based in Turkey, but I've lived there for 5, and there is a very special connection that I feel with Malta itself, and the sister island of Gozo, which is just pure rawness. That's how I would I would describe it. It's raw. It's bright. The colors are caramel-like, sand-like. The earth is dry. The green is deep. There is a real sensuality about Malta and about Gozo. And I know the islands inside out, and for several years now, every time I go to Gozo, we have a family place there. Every time I go to Gozo, I yearn for sisterhood. I yearn to share the beauty of this island with people who have that special connection with the earth, with the, they want to put their feet on the dust. They want to hear the wind, feel the sea, the breeze, the salt in the air. And I've been yogaing around the island of Gozo pretty much on my own. I mean, with a couple of friends as well, but I always find these beautiful places to go to and just yoga. And I'm resourced for the day. You know, I'm a very early riser. This is due to my training in Kundalini. I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher, so we wake up very early to do what we call our sadhana. And whenever I'm in Gozo, I keep that ritual coming. It keeps me going for the whole day. I find so much spaciousness in the day after I wake up early. And so very often I just get up, have a cold shower, hop onto my car and just find a place. It's early. And it's magnificent. So the island, especially the island of Gozo, is very small, meaning you are everywhere in about 20 minutes, maximum. So, whether you want a sunrise or a sunset, or it's very easy to find. And I'm just so grateful that they are somehow came into my life. With that very, very strong desire to cook, to hold the retreat there. And it just felt right from the beginning. It felt right that we could co-create something very special. I think we're very in tune together. There is something about the feminine calling us. There's something about the womb. There's something about the fire in there. There's something about our creativity. There's something about being authentic and sharing it and multiply and give and not just get, but give and, And so when Dea, for some reason, talked about her wish to organize a retreat in Malta, it was in a very specific setting. It was, we can share there, right? We were both members of this incubator that Jean Houston put together. Jean Houston, the metaphysician, an amazing woman. And we found ourselves part of the same training for several months. And what I loved about that training was that people were just speaking from their soul. There was no inhibition. Straight away, it was soul talking, soul to soul talking. Okay, I would like to do this. I would like to, we have our soul has planted some seeds and they are just ready to germinate. But somehow we women always have that tendency not to believe in ourselves, and we tend to be full of fears and say, oh no, it won't work, it won't happen. This is something that's very feminine, very, very feminine. And somehow when someone mirrors the possibility of things to you, well, the fear is lost, and remains the desire. And so this desire is there, and we've been working very hard. Dia, Madeleine, who might join us a bit later, who is a very special soul. And somehow we got together, and we each have certain skills that we just have put beautifully together. They just kind of, it's like a puzzle. Everything just fitted, you know. The knowledge of Malta and a few other things, and they are obviously her call, and so much more than her call, who she is.
We'll get a little idea of the structure of what you're thinking people will do on the retreat in a moment, but I have to get back now to Dia. Thank you so much. You've evoked such a gorgeous image, not only of what the island's going to be like, but about the atmosphere that you women are creating between you, which sounds really lovely as well, just through your own relationship with each other. And that's one of the things that Claire and Jean foster, is this very deep bonding without masks, isn't it? And what you're talking about with the soul. But so Dia, what happened?
Okay, so I will get back to that, but I just want to pick up that last thread you were saying, because that is so what I want to bring into this talk today, and what I want to bring into our retreat. Because as we aligned with Celine and Madeleine, this past year we've been working to develop this retreat, and what's happening between us is this synergy and this building of sisterhood among the three of us. So it would be that we would get on the call, and so Madeleine lives in Texas and has never met Celine, right? And I've never met Celine personally, but we just felt this real deep connection, and it was a really ease. So we'd get on the call and we'd start, do our meditation, but then we'd get into really the practical things of the retreat. But then over the months, it just became, wow, what's happening with you? And, we would just like relate on such a deeper level. And so, this sisterhood really formed, and this bond really formed between the three of us, right, Celine? So it's like, this is what I want to create on the retreat, right? This is what I want to create. And I'm like getting emotional just talking about it. But so that's been lovely. And I think that's been just so magical to watch that happen. So I want to name that. But what did happen in Malta, I think Celine actually, when I first met Celine, she put it into words for me. When I arrived in Valletta is like the main island, and it has a lot of it's very busy, very busy. There's lots of energy. There's lots of activity, nightlife, day life. People like to party in a way in Valletta, right? And it's just has this energy. And so it created a lot of conflict with my daughter and I. And my daughter was 19 at the time. And so this will be a year and a half ago. So this summer it'll be 2 years. And we got into a real conflict, which was very surprising, because I thought it was a mother-daughter retreat or, just getaway. And here we were in conflict, which we never had. Like, we've never gone through the bad teenage years. We've always been very close. So it was really emotional for me to be in that. And then we went to Gozo, which was a completely different energy. Completely. It was calm, it was quiet, and I cried when I got there. I'm like, why didn't we come straight away here? This is what I wanted, and I understand why it all happened that way now, and I can talk talk to that in a moment, but just noticing the difference. And then we got to Gozo, and then we went into a cave that was really like, they have all these ancient caves in Malta, which, you know, is literally like walking into the womb of the earth. It's just, you walk into this, right? And this cave actually had electricity. It was used for meditative purposes. It became obvious to me that there was a lot of spiritual work that had been done there over the centuries, right? And what I've come to learn is that these were caves that priestesses and oracles would go into for dream time and prayer time and meditation time. And I didn't know that at the time, but I've come to learn that. And so when I did walk in, I was very cognizant of the energy that just kind of overwhelmed me. And I literally just had to lie down because I physically could not stand. So I was with my daughter and my friend, who was a male, and the woman of the cave. And I said, oh, is it okay if I just lie down? Because I can't stand up. So I lied down, and I just had this outpouring of emotions and just, you know, sobbing, like just sobbing. And I didn't know what was going on. And I was like, my daughter's like, Mom, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. I'm just crying. And, you know, it's taken me a long time to understand what all that was and what that release was about. But what I've come to see is that what happened in Malta with my daughter and I was this real kind of an uprooting of who we were. It was, you know, my daughter turning into a woman at the age of 19, and myself letting go of the role of motherhood and turning back to myself as a woman, you know, turning back to the parts of myself that, you know, in a 23-year marriage sometimes get lost. So there's this beautiful song that was recorded in the cave in Malta by Jennifer Brazen, and it's called Returning. And that's really what it was for me. It was such a complete returning. It was a returning to myself as a woman of desires, as a sensual woman, as a creative woman, as a dreamer, to be in that temple, that dream temple, and to feel all the desires within my heart that I had pushed down, and that now suddenly were like right there, and I could no longer deny them. And so everything was a returning for me in Malta, even though at the time I thought, oh, this is terrible. What is going on? And it's taken me a long time to really understand what is going on. So from that, I teamed up with my friend who was there, my male friend who was there, and we had decided to put on the retreat together. And that's what I had announced in the incubators group, that this dream of mine was coming true. And I met Celine there, actually. You know, Celine said, oh, I'm from Malta. If you need anything, you know, whatever you need, there's no problem, she said to me in our first meeting. And at that time, I was really, there was a lot of disharmony and discord with me and my friend who was originally putting it on. And so with Celine's invitation, you know, I had to let go. I had to let go of what I had started to come into more alignment. And really with this female energy was really what was calling me, in this idea of sisterhood that I was so longing and not getting with my other friend, right? So that was a big step. And that was a big step in me saying no and having to disappoint another, to listen to what was calling me forward and saying, this is not in alignment with who you are and what you want to offer. And it was a big deal because he had put so much work into it. I mean, we were ready to launch like within a few days. So there was a lot of disappointment on his side. But so that was like, so that was another big step for me, was really stepping into my own voice and saying no to him and yes to Celine and yes to myself. The other thing that happened is when we talk about synchronicities and coincidences and really saying yes to what your heart is calling, you know, calling you, where your heart is calling you to go. What happened for me going to Malta, for me saying, yes, I want to go to Malta. And that was a big step because I had to say no to my husband. You know, at the time, I'm like, I'm going with my daughter alone. Huge step. But I said yes. And so from Malta, a few months later, I met someone who was in Texas. I was visiting Madeleine, and I said, oh, I had a really weird experience in Malta. And she said to me, oh, I've been in Malta, I've been in the caves, and I'm here to tell you what that means. And so out of nowhere, she just said, I'm your gatekeeper, and I'm here to tell you what that means. So it was just really blew my mind. And through her, I was able to connect to the 13 Moon Mystery School, which is a school, it's a school with the lineage going into Avalon and the priestesses of Avalon.
Wow.
So it's been...
Could you just say the name of that school again?
Yeah. It's the 13 Moon Mystery School.
Wow.
So I've been studying with them for a year and a few months now. It's been over a year. So that has been such a place of returning home again for me, just feeling those parts of me that knew there was more to my spiritual life, but not having a group or a teaching. It's a teaching on how to deepen into myself as a spiritual being, into myself as an awakened being, into myself as a human being. I don't even want to say as a woman, because it's so much more than that. It's really harmonizing the masculine and the feminine within myself. So, wow, what a return home it has been, you know. And so when I look back to when I left for Malta, yes, I was entering into this feminine power with Claire Zammit and this whole group of women. But now sisterhood is just so much more reality for me on a daily basis. On a daily basis, I can reach out to anybody and just say, hey, can you just sit in empty presence with me and be with me, you know, and they're there. So it's been huge.
That is huge. What an amazing story. And what a rite of passage. I mean, we just don't have those in our kind of normal modern existence. We just don't have those rites of passage that you described, that you experienced in the cave. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering, Celine, what's your experience of that? The sort of spiritual essence of the place. Did you very much feel that when you were living there?
Yes, absolutely. I think from the moment you step foot on, especially on the island of Gozo, mm-hmm. there is a grounding. There's a grounding that happens. You become grounded again. You know, there is a...
Grounded or shooken up? Yes. It's one, it's both.
There is this pull, there's this magnetic pull into the earth for you to just breathe and be. And Malta and Gozo are host to many very, very sacred temples, old temples, which date back to 3,500 BC. And I have a picture here actually of one of them. And look at the shape. It's very, the shape of these temples are very round. They are very feminine. They are inclusive. They are welcoming. They are nurturing. Mm-hmm. In those temples, they found a lot of statuettes of these priestesses, of these little goddesses, which we are going to see actually in Valletta itself, there's a beautiful museum, and part of the retreat will, before the grounding in Gozo, which we want every woman to experience, we will do a little cultural tour of these sacred places. For us, it's very important to plug into this energy, to understand the energy of the place, to have a historical background, to understand that these places have been alive, and for about, I was reading again recently, for about 1,000 years, those places were alive. They found, in those temples, they only found artifacts of, beauty related to the cult of fertility. There was no weapon. There was no sign of disharmony in those in the objects found in those temples. It was all about women nurturing. So we want people to plug into that energy and then ground through the practices that we all know. So they are myself and Madeleine, and we want the women that will join us to experience this grounding, this returning back to the self, the call of the mother, of the feminine, of the nurturing, of the of the belly.
Yeah.
And this is what we want to offer.
As you're speaking, I can feel that emotion in me, and just just the mention of a place where it's all about beauty and there are no weapons just immediately makes me think, oh yes, that is what we want to return to for the planet. So for you to be offering this as something for women to go and really plug into, and then hopefully bring back to their everyday world, and think, well, how can I bring this essence into my daily existence somehow, or share the feeling of it with people around me, and that kind of thing. That just sounds amazing, really amazing.
I really believe there is a very strong disconnect in today's world, and I think women feel it more than anybody else, disconnect between who we are as women and who we are supposed to, how we are supposed to show up in our daily lives. There's a disconnect because there's simply a lack of strong, wise women around us. I realize that most girls and women are transitioning from being little girls into teenage girls, into women, into motherhood, into into then perimenopause, menopause, and I feel that there is a need for women to talk about this, for women to be here for one another during this transition period, and not to pretend that everything is okay, that everything's fine. I just master everything, we are, no, we're not. And in periods of crisis, we realize how much we need this nurturing. We need nurturing from each other. I feel very, very strongly about that. We need more sisterhood. We need women to help each other up. We need women to bring each other up, to mirror each other, who we truly are. And
that just sounds so beautiful, Celine. And when you combine that with the bare feet on the earth, and plugging into the energy of the earth, as well as having this sisterhood, then that is a really different and very wholesome and holistic kind of strength that we can have together, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And also of possibility, because I really see Malta for me has been a huge gateway or portal. And I know many people now have spoken about it being an energetic vortex. So there's something powerful within the land itself. And that's what we want to access. We want to access that, and we want to go to the temples, and we want to do rituals and meditation, and let that, the space itself is already sacred. We just need to sit. I don't have to do anything. I just need to sit, and it'll happen, right? And so when you combine it, Jan, as you were saying, in sisterhood, right, in meditation, wow, it has the potential to be very, very possible. Yeah,
it's
very, very powerful, very possible.
Very powerful. Yeah, just sounds amazing. Really exciting.
It will be a very safe place. This is important, I think, for the three of us to create a very, very, very safe place. We want to really allow the sisters that will join us to be completely authentic, to be themselves, not to pretend, no mask. We are who we are, where we are in our journey of being women. And we will hold that container for these women. We will hold that feminine container for these women.
And I just want to bring Madeleine in to speak about her lovely, happy spirit and all the richness that her presence brings. She really is the fun, I think, of us. Like, has such a big spirit. And so her part in this will be in teaching some yoga classes. She's also a yoga instructor, but she's also going to be the woman who captures all the great moments. She is a photographer by trade, and so she will be she'll be capturing moments along the way, but then we'll have more of a kind of a formal photo shoot, but not so formal, but just an opportunity for women to be captured in their true essence. So it's, she'd probably be able to word it better than I am right now, but yeah, I think it'll be very special to just be able to sit and have us see each other, reflect back the true essence of who we are, and then let Madeleine capture it. That's really what we're going with in that piece of it.
I think that is going to be such a beautiful gift, just more than a normal memento of a trip, to have these photos of themselves in that kind of space, and like you say, with their true essence kind of expressed. I can't wait to see the photos. I think they're just going to be so amazing.
Yeah, in remembrance, the word remembrance keeps coming back, so they can return back to those photos in the times when it's not so in their consciousness. But yeah, it'll be there for them.
These days we talk a lot about the inner child, going back to the inner child and find that joy and find that sparkle that is a support that is there to help us remembering who we truly are. And I think that those pictures will be the next stage up, not the inner child, the who we still are, the inner child will still be visible in those pictures. And this is the woman I am. These are my experiences. This is how I chose my body, and this is me standing in the truth of my inner child and the truth of my soul, the truth of my authentic being. And I will carry that forward, and this will carry me forward as I walk along, as I journey along in life as a human being, as a mother, as a sister, as a daughter,
in our wholeness.
Exactly.
So Jane, can I tell you a little bit about the structure?
Yes, please do.
Okay. So we'll be arriving in Valletta for 2 nights, right, Celine?
Absolutely.
And then we'll be going into some museums there that hold some of the 1,000-year-old statues that they have found. And then we'll be going into Gozo, where we're staying at an old farmhouse with a pool that's attached to the property. So it'll be a very slower pace. We'll have more yoga in the morning for those who want to wake up. And we'll have our own Ayurvedic chef who will be coming to the house to make our meals. So it'll be so nourishing and organic and yumminess. We'll be heading to the beach. We've got a midnight meditation in one of the oldest temples on the island. We've got some drumming and dancing under the moonlight on the beach with a fire, with ceremony around that. And we have a painting workshop planned outside at this other pottery studio. So we'll be eating al fresco and painting. Yeah. So we've got some fun things, but it's really going to be at a slower pace. We're not trying to jam so many cultural visits to this museum and that museum. More, let's just chill.
I'm so pleased to hear that part, because a lot of times I think people planning events like this can think, right, we're going to have to, we need to put lots of value in, and so in the end it can be quite exhausting to be on it, rather than kind of so nourishing. But it just sounds lovely, like you've really thought about the balance of that. And
yeah, well, we want to hold time for people to process. We want to hold time for us to be in circle and sharing. So to be able to, hold all of that without it being overwhelming. I think that's our goal, right?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Really excellent. The dates, we haven't actually said the dates, 16th to the 21st of May.
Mm-hmm. If people, would like to talk to us more about it individually, we're happy to do that. We can meet on Skype or on the phone, Messenger, whatever works. Celine, myself, or Madeleine.
That's great. Would you like me to give an email?
Sure.
What's a good email to?
We actually have a Malta Retreat email that we can use. Mm-hmm. So it's Malta Retreat 2019 at gmail.com.
Oh, can you just check that in the chat that I've got it right, and I'll make sure it's available as well.
Yeah, that looks good.
And we also have a Facebook page with all the details of the event of the retreat, which is called the Divine
Journey to the Divine Feminine.
Exactly, Journey to the Divine Feminine.
Okay, I'll add a link to that as well to make it easy for people.
Yeah, that'd be great. I think everything's on there. The itinerary, the places where we'll be staying, a direct link. Our Ayurvedic chef is on there as well. So,
wow,
our bios, yeah.
It just sounds so heavenly. And it's speaking to such deep yearnings in us, and this remembrance that you have mentioned several times, and that feeling of coming, right, like returning to something, does make me wonder, how is this a place where we've been before? Is this returning in the sense that perhaps you've been there previous lifetimes, that you might have a connection in that kind of way? I'm just wondering what you think of that notion.
It sure felt that way. It sure felt that way, and it sure feels that way when we sit like this today, and when we sit in our circle, even with Jean and Claire, that we have all stood by each other before in circle, in ceremony.
Yeah, I increasingly get that sense, and I don't know what the truth of that is, or how to explain it in any particular way, but like you say, that's the feeling of it, and it's quite profound.
And that's also the feminine part of it, to sit with what is the feeling and not worry about whether we know what is or isn't. That's the masculine, right?
Yeah.
So to sit with that, coming back to that yearning and what is in my heart and what is real for me now, and what am I feeling and what am I sensing and what am I desiring? Really those dropping into those feminine qualities of that deep listening. Yeah. Oh, maybe she's popping on.
We'll be using all these technologies that the three of us know very well, the yoga, the rituals. For me, the Kundalini yoga practice, which is I think a practice which is very geared towards women. This is a practice that helps you to drop deep, deep, deep inside through the meditations. Madeleine!
Hello, Madeleine. Welcome.
Hi. I'm sorry I'm so late to the party here.
Oh, so glad you could join us. How is your dog?
He's kind of wobbly and out of it, but the doctor wasn't worried, so.
Good. Well, Celine said you're leaving out chocolate too long. You need to eat it quicker, Madeleine.
That's it.
It was in my daughter's room on the floor, actually. But
I would have found it, Madeleine. I would have found it.
Anyway, it's nice to meet you, Jen.
Nice to meet you too, Madeleine. I've had a wonderful description of you from Dia.
Oh,
very beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes, so I was telling how much fun you are, and then you got on and said, "I'm sorry, I'm late for the party." There you go. No, party. She's the party.
You brought the party with you.
Yeah.
I don't intentionally do that, but I guess a little bit of that, yeah.
Well, Madeleine, this retreat just sounds so divine. It sounds divine in every possible way, and so exciting. So, just so that you can tell us a bit about, from your perspective, what do you think you're going to enjoy most about this retreat, let's ask you that first, and then I've got another follow-on question about the photography.
Well, I'm switching gears here. I think, when I think back to all of the really powerful and also just sheer feeling connected experiences in my life, I've been in nature with my friends. And so this is kind of an extension of that. I used to do a lot of hiking and spending time in the mountains with friends. And those were when the real authentic relationships were able to unfold. And this is the more mature and the version of it that includes a lot of work on self through spiritual practices and just experiencing the world as a woman who is a seeker, and and I think spending time with, I know you probably heard from Dia and Celine, just sort of the synchronicity and the beauty of how we all sort of came together, and thanks to Dia, we're all sitting here today. But the process of creating this has been a really life-affirming process.
That's so wonderful. So much better than the, projects I've heard about in the past that have had people pulling their hair out and getting very stressed. This sounds very different to that and really lovely.
Yeah, it feels like it's divinely inspired because of that. Like there hasn't been a moment where we've been, well, maybe Dia from all the logistics.
No. It has
Not
really,
Dia, Celine from all the logistics.
Yeah, Celine's done a lot of the logistics.
So thanks to her, we have, amazing accommodations, and all of the details are taken care of in a really careful way.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you, Celine.
But it was a willingness of all of us to say, yeah, let's do this, right? And that's what really made it divine and brought us together. Yeah.
I'm hoping that energy will feed all of the participants, that I don't see how it couldn't,
Yeah, I get that feeling. I think it's going to be lovely. I'm very intrigued by, your plan to take photographs of everything that's happening as it goes, but also of the women in this incredibly kind of sacred setting, having settled into, well, who knows quite what kind of place inside themselves they're going to be able to settle into, but that you can capture that as well on camera so that they can come away with a photo of how it looked to someone else while they were feeling like that. I think is really beautiful gift.
Yeah. Well, I think, as we're all, spiritual seekers, and we've all been practicing our individual, paths. And, there is that quality of you come down off the mountain back into the real world. And sometimes it's hard to have that feeling of remembrance of what it was like when you were immersed in this, in the sacred space. And so, my hope is to collaborate with each person to really create something where all they have to do is look at an image and remember that feeling, because it is, I expect, I haven't been there, but I think the experience of it, from what Dia and Celine have said, is, visceral in a nourishing way. And so I hope to work with each person right where they are to capture something beautiful and artistic and contemporary, and mostly just their essence, and something that's very, that they look at them and it's like, that is me in my most expansive, strong, loving self. And
yeah, that just sounds amazing. So just to kind of round us off, I would love to hear from each of you, just, a few words maybe about what you're most excited about connected to the retreat.
Okay, I can go first. I'm really, really excited about offering this sacred space for women to come together in a very deep and related way, but in a way that's also joy-filled and fun. And like Celine was saying, to get back to remembering themselves and that young spirit, inner child, or whatever you want to call it, but the joy when they feel that they feel when they're in their wholeness. And I'm excited to see what will happen afterwards, because for me it was such a portal. So I'm excited to bring women there and to let them experience whatever they experience. So and the whole idea of sisterhood, to travel in sisterhood, is so rich to me. So super excited.
Yeah.
Well, I'll go next.
Okay.
I'm really excited to actually be in Gozo and experience what these two have been or have, and to taste that and understand what it's all about. And then just from the visual perspective and the photographer in me, having done a lot of research on images and such from Gozo, you know, just thinking about, you know, creating something beautiful there with each person. But I mean, I think most importantly is planting, bringing people together to plant a seed, or grow the seed that is already there, you know, a supportive environment, and like Dia was saying, traveling in this sisterhood, which, you know, I've done a lot of different types of retreats, but nothing so focused on the sisterhood aspect. And I feel like it's such an important part of my development personally, and the way to like cross the bridge of where I am going to actually be of more service, you know, in this second chapter of my life, I guess, or third or 50th. What is this chapter?
Who knows?
Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful.
And I'm just excited to collaborate with these two gorgeous women. I'm just excited. It's like not, you know, the puzzle is going to come together, and we all have our gifts and our things we've done numerous times on our own. And it's like, I'm just excited for this co-creation. It's really going to be co-creation. And I can really already feel that the women are going to be inspired to create themselves, you know, to create themselves and to create themselves, you know, to be a creator, to come back to create. This is what excites me. I'm just excited because as you know, I teach Kundalini yoga, and I just see the transformation of people week after week. It's such a beautiful technology, amazing technology, and I've prepared some. I've got a book, you know, prepared with so many great meditations. We're going to be there for a full moon as well, so there will be this element too that we can, you know, harness the power of the full moon. I'm just excited to share this technology. I'm excited to bring some healing. I'm really excited about bringing some healing. I think the container will be very healing itself. I'm excited I also practice Reiki, so I'm excited to do group healing, you know, over there in Gozo with people who feel safe and comfortable to release, to relax, and to go back to their essence, and to be in a community of sisters and create with them. And my hope is that the bond that will be created there will be a lifetime support for women when we need it at certain times. You know, it's important that we remember who we are to move forward, but it's important to have people around us who know who we are and who have seen us being who we truly are in those moments.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That sounds really beautiful. It's just so beautiful. And right. So what's the weather like in Malta in May?
It will be nice. It will be sunny. It will be, I think it might be a bit cold to swim, but bring on your swimsuit, obviously, because I'm sure we won't be holding back. Maybe a bit windy. So, you know, I can just imagine the evenings in Gozo, a bit windy. You want to wrap yourself into a nice shawl, and we'll do that, and we'll be nourished by beautiful food. So bring your hat, bring a crazy dress, bring your swimsuit, bring whatever you feel inspired to bring. It's not just yoga clothes, please. It's not just yoga clothes. It's more than that. It's dresses, shawls, and hats, and
beautiful clothes that they would want to wear in a photo shoot, like to be the ultimate goddess that they are.
Goddess dresses. Bring your goddess dresses.
or just a shawl.
Or just a
Yeah. Let's not get hung up on clothes. Just bring a shawl.
I think it's lovely to have an opportunity to dress up if you want.
That's true. We do like to dress up.
and dress down.
Yeah, that too. Well, it's been really lovely to meet all three of you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
And
Jen.
and thank you for creating this amazing opportunity for women. It just sounds so rich and just fantastic.
And so it is, and so it shall be.
Indeed.
It is.
And so it is. Thanks, Jen. Thank you, sisters.
Thank you.